You're listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1928. Disclaimer. This is read from a historic, archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was aired on the 2nd of January of 1928.
Out of the frying pan onto the table. Information, including menu and recipes, from Bureau of Home Economics, United States Department of Agriculture. This program contains a rather unusual recipe, not in the radio cookbook, for coconut snowballs, developed by Bureau of Home Economics. Please mention Aunt Sammy's radio recipes as often as you think it necessary.
Isn't it pleasant to be starting out with a new year and a brand new set of resolutions? I have resolved, among other things, to pack the 1928 Housekeepers Chats so full of practical information that you will learn something each day. Of course, you'll have to help me as you have in the past by making suggestions. The Bureau of Home Economics has promised me lots of dandy menus and new recipes for 1928. My friends in the Bureau sent me a delicious recipe last week to broadcast today. It is a recipe for coconut snowballs. Reminds me of a recipe in the ancient cookbook Uncle Ebenezer gave me for Christmas. He knows I have a penchant for old recipes, and when he saw this old English cookbook, he just had to buy it. The recipe I mentioned is for darials, or tartlets. It reads like this. Take cream of cow and almonds. Do their 2 eggs, white sugar, saffron, and salt. Meddle it, that means mix it. Do it into a coffin of 2 inches deep and bake it well. I am afraid a young bride would have some trouble in following such a recipe as that. For instance, she might wonder how much cream of cow was needed for the tartlets. My recipe for coconut snowballs will be much easier to follow. But I really must forget about the old cookbook and answer some questions about frying. First question. Please tell me the difference between frying and sauteing. Answer. Frying is cooking foods in deep fat. Sauteing is cooking foods in shallow fat. Donuts are fried. Chicken is sauteed. Second question. Are fried foods harmful? Answer. For the healthy adult, a small amount of properly fried or sauteed food is perfectly wholesome. Of course, food that is poorly fried or too much fried food, even if properly fried, is unpalatable. Third question. Should children be given fried foods? Answer. Rich, fried food should not be given to children. Children need simple, plain foods, and fried foods, which contain a high proportion of fat, are likely to overbalance the diet and cause digestive upsets. Question number 4. Please tell me which are more wholesome, fried foods or sauteed foods. Answer. Fried foods are considered more desirable than sauteed foods because fried foods absorb less fat in the cooking process. Next, how should fat be clarified so that it can be used more than once? Answer. Fat may be clarified with slices of potatoes, as every experienced housekeeper knows, or with potato and apple as it heats. To clarify with raw potato, melt the fat and add slices of raw potatoes. Heat the fat gradually. When it ceases to bubble and the potatoes are brown, strain the fat through cheesecloth and cool. Small quantities of fat may be clarified by pouring boiling water on cold fat, stirring well, and setting aside till a cake of fat forms on top of the water. Then the sediment is scraped from the bottom of the cake. If this fat is to be kept for several days, it should be reheated to drive off the water. Sixth question. Will you please give me some pointers on cooking croquettes? In the first place, if croquettes are mixed fairly stiff, brushed with melted fat, and rolled in crumbs, they may be browned in a hot oven. For deep fat frying, croquettes should be rolled in sifted breadcrumbs, then in egg, and again in sifted breadcrumbs. Make the breadcrumbs from the center of the loaf, without crusts. The secret of success is to make an unbroken layer over the whole surface. The hot fat cooks the egg and makes a crust. The crust prevents the absorption of fat. As I said before, sauteing is cooking in a small quantity of fat. It is a slower method than deep frying, but as it is sometimes convenient for us. To saute such foods as potatoes, liver, and fish, we might as well know the correct way of doing it. When you are sauteing food, have the fat hot enough to hiss when the food is put in. Cook the food first on one side, then on the other. Use very little fat, adding from time to time just enough to keep the food from burning. Have a smooth, clean skillet for sauteing. Have I said enough for today about the frying pan? There's just one thing more I might say, and that's about the cooking utensils needed for frying. They consist of a large, flat-bottomed iron kettle, a long fork or spoon, and a wire basket, for convenience in removing food from the kettle. And of course, to drain the food, after frying, you will want a rack covered with clean absorbent paper. I'd better leave the subject of frying abruptly before I think of something else to say. I'm going to vary the program today by giving you the menu now. Then I'll answer another question and give you a recipe for coconut snowballs. This is the menu. You'll see how well it fits in with the points on frying. The menu: beef croquettes, scalloped parsnips, canned asparagus buttered, and for dessert sliced oranges with donuts. The nice part of this menu is that the recipes for beef croquettes, scalloped parsnips, and donuts are all in the radio cookbook. That makes it easy. The last question is from a radio friend who lives on a rural route not many miles away. She wants to know whether there is any accurate way for a homemaker to tell when a roast of beef is rare, medium, or well done. There surely is. If the homemaker would use a meat thermometer when roasting beef, she would get the same results each time she cooks. Place the thermometer in the center of the thickets part of the roast. If your family prefers rare roast beef, take the meat out of the oven when the thermometer reads between 130 and 150 degrees Fahrenheit. A medium roast is cooked to between 150 and 170 degrees, and the meat is well done at about 180 degrees. They are not expensive. Specialists in meat cookery in the Bureau of Home Economics have found that by using thermometers in their laboratory, they can cook hundreds of roasts, and a.lv/eyes have the results comparable. These specialists recommend that homemakers who want to cook by exact methods should use a meat thermometer. Ready to write again now. This recipe for coconut snowballs is given for a listener who wants some frosted cakes for a party she is giving Friday night. The first step in making coconut snowballs is to bake an angel food cake, according to your own favorite recipe or to the one given in the radio cookbook. Then make 2 times the usual recipe for vanilla frosting. That's in the radio cookbook, too. Everything clear so far? Make an angel food cake and 2 times the recipe for vanilla frosting. When the cake is cold, cut it into 75 or 100 small pieces of uniform size. Keep the vanilla frosting over hot water and drop 2 or 3 pieces of the cake into it at one time. Turn the pieces of cake over with a fork until they are well coated. Then take the calx out of the frosting and roll them in finely grated, fresh coconut. Press them into the shape of a ball with the tips of your fingers. When the cakes are well coated and evenly shaped, place them on waxed paper. Let them dry for 2 or 3 hours. That's all. Coconut snowballs make a delicious confection, nice enough for the spiffiest kind of a tea party.
This broadcast was researched and produced by Breakaway Empire LLC.